All right, welcome to the podcast. We have very special guest, Dani Kyro, on the set, my wife, who has taken part in a couple videos. You've been in a couple videos.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong?
No.
Okay, so I'm right.
Yeah.
So why are you shaking your head at me?
I don't know.
We're off to a great start right here on the
my God.
podcast. I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Sticker Savages for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. More about them in a little bit. Stay tuned. Okay, so this is going to be the first interview that I've done with just an entirely non-skateboarder. So all of my regular questions are completely out the window from the get-go.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I've got about 1,000 questions for you. But for those of you listening, the purpose of this podcast, the reason I started is to learn more about the skateboard industry. Specifically within the skateboard industry, there seems to be these wild ups and downs where it gets very popular, very unpopular. And then the second reason is we try and figure out how do we get more people involved in skateboarding. So I thought it would be a very, very interesting interview to interview my wife, who is not herself a skateboarder, but she is obviously my wife. So she's on the outside of skateboarding, and she can give us maybe a good perspective of some of the things that she goes through. Well, A, being my wife, which is already a tough enough task, you know, and B, being close to skateboarding, but not yourself yet a skateboarder. So what we try to isolate on the podcast is why these wild ups and downs in the industry? How do we get more people in? How do we solve it so skateboarding just grows and expands, which is the overall purpose of Braille skateboarding? So go ahead and introduce yourself. What is your name, age, all your vital statistics? Oh, you don't want to say your age? Oh, yeah, I forgot.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
You never ask a lady her age.
This is so awkward for me.
Why?
I don't know. I just say, my name is Dani Kyro.
That's normally what people say. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. We're not putting this part in.
Oh, yeah, 100% we are.
No. Wait. This is so embarrassing.
Why?
I don't know.
Just talk. People want to hear from you.
You know my name.
Well, here's the deal is I know your name, but everybody listening does not.
Okay. My name is Dani Kyro. It's short for Danielle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thanks. I made that up myself.
That's great. Just threw that out there right on the spot.
No.
So you ready for the first question, Dani Kyro?
Sure.
Okay. So how did you meet Aaron Kyro? And your first impression, tell the story.
You want to hear the whole story?
And nothing but the whole story.
And, okay, like every part of the story.
Why are you looking at me like that? I don't know. Now you got me nervous.
No.
Yes, I want to hear the whole story.
So we have a mutual friend.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Ian Page.
Shout out Ian Page.
Ian and I were roommates, actually, for a short period of time. And we worked together.
Yes.
And I was looking for a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. Say no more.
And I asked him if he knew of any people that would be good for me.
Yes.
And then it's funny because it was me and my best friend. My best friend growing up, her name is Erin.
Yes.
So Erin and Ian and I were like a little posse.
Right.
And she and I just were like, 18, 19 years old looking for boyfriends.
Yes.
And then we asked Ian who he knew and if he knew of anyone for us.
Yes.
And he said, well, there's this guy, his name's Aaron Kyro, but he only dates supermodels.
True statement. Thank you, Ian. I knew that was coming. Shout out Ian Page for
but
true
this is what's
about the
ridiculous.
Super Bowl.
Well, so
I said Super Bowl. I didn't even say supermodels. I said Super Bowl. Shut up for the Super Bowl.
But listen, if you want me to like be real.
Be real.
Like,
this is the podcast. What are you trying to fake it?
No. But okay, so basically, he's like, yeah, but he only dates like supermodels. I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to mean? And he basically just said how your last girlfriend before me was like beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know what to make of that communication.
But it also kind of
because he's literally telling me that I wouldn't be up to your standards and I'm not as pretty as your last girlfriend.
kind of a funny introduction, though, isn't it? It's like
It is.
It's like, hey, do you have anybody I could date? Well, I know this one guy, but he only dates supermodels. It's
Which
like he may as
literally-
well just slapped you in the face.
That's what I'm saying. It literally cut me out of the equation completely. I don't think he meant it that way at all. But also at the time, to be fair, I was just kind of like this chubby, nerdy girl. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't. But like, I was like,
You've been beautiful your
coming
entire
of
life.
age. I was 18 years old when I met you.
And how old was I?
23.
Yeah, 5-year age gap there.
Yeah. But so anyway, that's what he said. He said he only dates supermodels and told me all about your old girlfriend. And I was like, cool. That sounds terrible. I don't know why I would want to meet this person. He sounds like completely conceited and awesome.
Conceited and not awesome.
Right.
And then you met me and tell the story.
Do you want me to say everything?
Say the story.
Okay.
I mean, I think my recollection of this story is completely different than yours. Because if I were to tell the story about when we met, had nothing to do with anything you've said so far. But,
really?
Yeah. Go. Okay. That's why I think it's interesting.
Okay. So at that point, I was like intrigued, but also, you know how it is. You're like 18 and like some guy who only dates supermodels, like who's out of my league or something.
I don't really know how that is, but tell me all about it.
No. That's just in my mind. I'm sort of thinking like, well, forget it then. Like, I didn't even care. I was like, well, screw that. I'm not even going to try.
Right.
So then he was talking to me and my best friend at the time, Erin, and he told her about this other guy, Sean, who I knew and had previously like kind of liked a little bit.
Oh, the truth comes out.
But this story is so crazy because here's what's so crazy.
Yeah.
So I had like a little baby crush on Sean, like a little baby one.
Yeah. She's trying to emphasize baby. She's trying to be nice to my ego.
No, it was very small.
I'm just
very
kidding.
short-lived. I was
kidding.
like 17, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Go ahead.
So a couple weeks later, we end up going to a Halloween party.
Yes.
And I remember telling my best friend, like, you go for it with Sean. Like, go after him. Like, you know, I'm not really friends with him anymore, basically. Like, we had this falling out. I didn't really want to see him or talk to him.
You said that to your friend Erin to go after Sean.
Yeah. And I was like, I'll help you. You know, I'll be your wing woman. Like, I'll help you, you know, make contact.
Yes.
So I get to this Halloween party and he comes outside looking for me.
Yeah.
Sean does. And I hide under their stairs, like their outside stairs. I was like, didn't want to see him at all.
Yeah.
So then I hid under the stairs. Anyway, he came and found me and like confronted me. And we hadn't talked in like 2 years.
Yeah.
And was like very flirtatious.
Yeah.
And basically ended up flirting with me the whole night.
Right.
And you weren't there.
Right.
Dani Kyro wasn't there. So we had a bunch of mutual friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like just hanging out with Sean at this point.
Yeah.
And I had not had a boyfriend my entire life. And so for me, I was like getting all of this attention from Sean.
Yeah.
And
you like that.
Well, at the time, I didn't really know what to do with it. I was like,
don't lie. It's okay.
No.
You liked it.
Well, okay. I like it as much as any 18-year-old girl who has never had a boyfriend likes it.
So you liked it.
Okay. Shut up.
Continue with the story. It's okay.
No, but there was a lot of affection and like flirting and whatever, and it was exciting.
Right.
And then at the end of the night, he asked me for my number.
Right.
And I felt bad because my best friend obviously was like interested in him.
Yes.
And she had made it very clear to me that night that she was very interested in him.
Right.
And so I had never been asked for my phone number before. So of course I gave him my phone number. And she was right there though. So it's not like I gave it to him like without her knowing, but I don't think she totally understood what was happening.
Yeah.
Anyway, at some point in time, you came in, Dani Kyro walks in.
On a horse? Was there smoke behind me? How did I look?
You had long hair.
How long?
To like your shoulders. Long, shaggy hair.
Fabio, let's go.
You were wearing I thought you were super cute.
No way.
I did. I totally did.
Tell
And
me everything.
I thought you were super cute. Like you didn't give any Fs. Like
That's
you
true.
just walked into this party to pick up your friends. Like you didn't need to go to no party, you know?
I didn't go to pick up my friends. Tell the truth. Come
Well,
on.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Never mind.
until-
Go ahead. I'll stop cutting you off. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell your
So-
side of the
okay.
story. I'll tell my side.
So you came in and I thought you were super cute and super sweet. And I could just tell, like, by looking at you and talking to you that you were like very, very sweet.
Love at first sight.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I don't know. Was it for you?
I'll tell my side. You tell your side.
Yeah, I think it was love at first sight for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, yeah, I just remember your cute shaggy hair.
Yeah.
And then you were wearing like this puffy jacket from Valley Parking Cars. It was, and you were wearing like a button-up shirt and a tie and like black pants and like a puffy jacket.
Yeah.
It was really cute. And you were just kind of like sweet, not like super nervous, but just whatever. And we said like all of 5 words to each other.
What were those 5 words?
Hi, I'm Aaron.
Oh, right. I forgot. I didn't
Dani.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
That was all it took. When you're a sponsored skateboarder from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Well, so,
I'm just
but
kidding.
that's like,
This is pre-sponsored skateboarder from the San Francisco Bay Area.
yeah, exactly. I had like a lot of conflicting emotions though. Like I felt like very excited to meet you. I remember, and sort of like whatever like concept Ian had put in my head about the fact that you only dated supermodels and maybe were like not very approachable,
Yeah.
like totally went away.
Right.
But then I also had like this guy who I had known and I had previously had a crush on flirting with me all night that night.
Oh, yeah.
And then you came in. So it was like, you know,
what's
what do I
going
do?
on? And my friends and all this stuff. So then what happened?
So we met, and then I obviously like, I don't know, my attention, I guess, was sort of split in two, you know? And then, but this was all just one night. And this is like from the 18-year-old point of view, like 18-year-old perspective. So of course, like it was kind of like overwhelming and there was a lot happening. Anyway, so at the end of the night, so you had left with your friends.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, I gave Sean my number, and that was it. Like we didn't make any other contact. We didn't talk more or anything. I just met you.
And then
We leave, and I end up texting with Sean like for the next 2 weeks or something like that. And I'm just texting with him back and forth, but I'm so nervous. I can't even talk to him on the phone. So, and I didn't, but also there was just something inside of me, like something like I just knew he was just not the right person. I had this falling out with him a couple years before, and I was like, I'm not going to pursue this. Now, anyway, it's so funny. If he listens to this, I'll probably be totally oblivious to my point of view when I was 18. But anyway, so yeah, I was so nervous and I couldn't really confront talking to him, but also knew that it wasn't right. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we kept texting back and forth, and like he kept saying things that made me feel like he was super interested. And so one night, like a couple weeks later, I end up telling my best friend, like, listen, I've been like texting back and forth with Sean, and, you know, I think I want to like pursue this and like go out with him. And she was devastated. She was so upset. She was crying. Like it was horrible. So then the craziest thing, so that night I'm driving home, and my mom's driving me home because I didn't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
So my mom's driving me home, and I get a call from a 415 number, and I thought maybe it was Sean. So then I like mustered up enough courage to answer the phone. But again, it just like nothing about it felt right. You know what I mean? So, but then I answer the phone, and then I'm like, hello? And then I hear this,
Hello?
hi. This is Dani Kyro. I met you at the Marcotte's party. And I was like, oh, hey. And honestly, it like didn't phase me like why you were calling me. I had no idea. I had absolutely no game at all. Like had never been on a date. Didn't know why you're calling me. I mean, like I figured it out within the first like 45 seconds, but I just never knew what it felt like to be asked out before.
Sure.
So then, and then you said like something like, yeah, I just wanted to know if you wanted to hang out sometime.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, and then I was very excited. And then I said, you were like, I hope it's okay. I got your phone number from Sean. So then after I found out that you got my phone number from him, then I had no problem calling him. It was almost like in that moment, like I felt so, I guess just the whole time I knew that it wasn't right. Like he wasn't right for me. And so maybe that's why I was like so nervous to talk to him, or I didn't feel like, I felt very unsettled, you know?
Sure.
So then after we spoke and you asked me out and I said yes, then I called him instantly. I had no problem. It was like all of the weight was lifted from me. And I called him and I was like, hey, so I heard you gave my number to Aaron. And then I told him that you and I were going to go out. And then I told him that my best friend liked him. And I ended up hooking the two of them up.
Yeah. And they dated for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So funny. It's funny because my name is Aaron. Your best friend's name is Aaron. So we got two Aarons, one Dani, and a Sean. Now, my very first ever girlfriend, her name was Aaron. And my best friend's name was Aaron.
I know.
So we had two Aarons, Aaron, and my best friend, Aaron, and then my girlfriend, Erin. And so I'm dating this girl, Erin. Now we're going way back. Into the history of Dani Kyro's dating life. Man, this is about to get deep and heavy. What's going on, everybody? I want to introduce you to a brand new sponsor of ours, Sticker Savages. Sticker Savages is a monthly sticker club that features 10 vibrant waterproof stickers each month, mailed to you in a super trippy collectible box that changes 4 times each year. They work closely with top Instagram artists to bring the dopest stickers in the game, with designs never to be repeated. Since these stickers are waterproof and rated for outdoor use, you can put them anywhere, on your car, your helmet, your water bottle, in the heavily graffitied bathroom in your favorite crusty coffee shop, and even on your skateboard to help you finally land that kickflip down the 4-stair. Again, these stickers are super exclusive. They're printed once and then never printed again. So sick. And Sticker Savage is offering a really great deal for listeners of the podcast. You can join the Sticker Savages today with a coupon code BRAILE for 50% off your first sticker box. Go to bit.ly/Sticker Savages and use the code BRAILE to sign up and get 50% off your first box. That's bit.ly/Sticker Savages and use code BRAILE at checkout. Thanks again, and back to the episode. So I'm dating this girl, Erin, and then she cheats on me with my best friend, Erin, and I'm completely devastated. This was in high school. So devastated, you know? This is like very new relationship style. And I'm like, I was to the point where I was like, I'm just going to skateboard. I'm not even going to have anything to do with girls. I didn't even date another girl for the rest of high school. That happened in my freshman year, or like just before my freshman year. All of high school, you know, I hung out with girls, whatever, et cetera, but I did not like have a relationship with a girl where I was like, I'm allowing myself to open up to this person.
Yeah.
Then the next person I date was another girl who I meet in San Francisco, who's also from Montana, who also ended up cheating on me. And it was very brutal, right? So I had these 2 relationships that had ended like in a very rough manner. And then I'm looking for like, how do I not do this? How do I not do the repeat of this?
Right.
So I think it's so funny that Ian was like, yeah, Aaron only dates supermodels.
Right. I know.
Which is a hilarious statement in itself. And it makes me sound kind of cool in like an unjustified way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, it did. It made you sound cool at the time, but also like not cool.
And yeah. And very kind of silly and like, who would do that? But I'm very not like that at all.
No.
So then, so here's my side of the story. So I'm valeting cars. This is my job. I valet cars. The car comes up, I park it. Bada boom, bada bing. And my friend calls me, says, Aaron, you've got to make it to this party. There's this girl here. She is dressed as a police officer and she is so hot. And I was like, say no more. Click, boom.
But he also said I was 22.
And he also said you were 22. So then I hang up. I'm finished my shift and I drive straight to the house and straight to meet you. I walk in, where's she at?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like man on a mission.
Yeah.
And then I was so nervous, I didn't even ask for your number.
Right.
Like I should have just asked for your number right then.
Yeah.
But it's funny you were like, oh, I was just so confident, didn't give an F. But I was like, hey, you want to maybe hang out sometime? I didn't even say that. I probably literally just said like, hey, what's your name? Yeah, my name's Aaron.
Yeah.
I had moved to California to be a professional skateboarder. At this time, I was sponsored. What I was doing for my job is I was valet parking cars. And it wasn't like I had made any like major, I wasn't on YouTube. This is pre-YouTube even existing.
Yep.
We're going back there. So then, I met her and I was totally like, ooh, who's this girl? I've got to get to know this girl. I need to get her on a date. But I was so nervous, I'll tell you. And then I called and then I found out, oh, Sean got her number. And I didn't know you guys were like texting. I didn't know there was anything there.
Yeah.
And I think I might have just texted him. Hey, do you got that Dani girl's number? Can I get her number? And then he just gave it to me. And then, I remember the night I was at my house. All my friends were there. And I was like trying to like muster up the energy to call you, like the like confidence.
Yeah.
It's kind of like landing a skate trick. Sometimes when I'm here and there's this trick I'm really scared of, I'll be like, screaming at the top of my lungs and then I'll try it. It's kind of like that. Actually, It's just like that. I remember being in my apartment in Daly City, California. And then I went outside onto the back balcony and I called you. Hey, do you want to like hang out sometime? It wasn't even to the point where I could say like, do you want to go on a date? Because I remember asking you if you want to hang out.
Yeah.
And then my friends, when I got off the phone, I was like, woo! Sorry, headphone users. We'll have to edit that audio. But I remember after I got off the phone, my friends were like, is it a date? And I was like, I actually have no idea. No, I didn't know at all.
Well, do you remember our first date?
I do remember our first date.
Well,
I think you brought your friend because you were nervous. I was nervous. Maybe you brought your friend and I brought my friend. I don't consider this our first date, but you tell the story.
Well, I arrived at your apartment in Daly City and my best friend, Erin, dropped me off and she was going to go out with Sean on a date with him.
Right.
But then when I got there were like, and she came upstairs with me. All your friends were there and you guys were kind of like talking about going bowling.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh no, like I'm not going to go by myself with all of these people that I don't even know. So I begged her to stay with me. And then
behind the scenes.
But I thought that we were going to go out like just the two of us. And I didn't mind that there were more people. It probably was like fine.
Yeah.
But
I was probably so nervous. See, I like totally canceled that out as our first date.
It technically wasn't really, but I think it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was kind of funny though, because remember I would like bowl and then you'd give me like high fives and like would hug me.
Yeah. I mean, it's so awkward. It's
so
like really
funny.
kind of like, how are you supposed to like, it's so awkward. It actually is so
awkward.
Yeah,
I know.
I
Thank God I only had to go through it once.
Yeah, you're very lucky. You've saved yourself a lot of hardship and heartbreak. So tell the story of our first date, our first actual date.
All of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's at least one funny story in there
there's a couple funny stories. I mean, there's when we were at Pete's and I was like, you were like, tell me about your date, your history.
That's the end. That's at the end.
I know, but do you want me to talk about that?
Whatever you want.
Fine. So, okay, first of all, obviously we had like a semi first date bowling.
Yeah.
But then I think we talked for like we like talked every single day on the phone for like a really long time, every day, just talking. And then it felt like by that time we were so familiar and comfortable with each other that I was like, I think it was actually good the way it went, how we went out first with like a bunch of friends and then we talked a bunch.
Right.
So then you took me to this restaurant at Santana Row in San Jose. And
I came and picked you up. I took you to the restaurant. Go ahead.
So, oh my God, so funny. So I don't know, for those of you who are listening, like if you see a menu at like a nice restaurant and it has like the menu item, and then next to it is a number, that number is the price. So Aaron, when he was ordering his food, asked the waitress for a number 21.
I thought we were at McDonald's. I had only been, I'm not this high class, high roller situation.
But
I was like, yo, I'll have the 21. And then
it was I was like, anyway, it was really cute, but also so embarrassing.
So embarrassing for you?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I was embarrassed.
For me, too. It was just such a funny moment.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I was like, I think that's the price.
And what did I say?
You were like, oh, ha. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're just laughing.
I probably was pretty embarrassed, and I was probably really, really nervous. I do get really nervous.
You looked really nervous.
But I also let these kind of things roll off my back a little bit.
Totally. Yeah, it was super cute. But it's like a good story that we'll have forever.
Yeah, it is. We talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a funny story about our first date when I ordered the number 21. And you were like, the price is 21. And I was like, oh, can we go somewhere else? This is way out of my price range. And then we went to the coffee shop, to Pete's. We got some coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like trying to dig into your history of relationships.
But did you know at that point that I was 18?
I don't remember. I do remember when I found out that you were 18, I was like, this might be a deal breaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 100%. I was 5 years older than you, and I was like, that's too much. You know what I mean?
I had just turned 18, too.
Yeah, you were 18, and I was 23. I must have just turned 23.
Yeah.
So my birthday is September 10th, and her birthday is September 28th. And
the Halloween party was obviously in October.
Yes.
So we both turned 18.
Yeah, so I was 23, you were 18. But yeah, I mean, I was 23, and I remember asking my friend, how old is she? She's 22. There's this hot 22-year-old chick here who's dressed as a police officer. And I was like, well, I'm a valet. Maybe she can pull me over.
Did he really say that?
No, it probably wasn't like witty enough. But But okay, so then
so then you took me, we went to Pete's afterwards to get coffee, and then you were asking me about, I think I asked you first about your relationship history.
Yes.
And then you told me, I don't really remember, like you told me, I think, about Sealy, and then
I just told you about my past girlfriends.
Exactly.
And then I was like, and how about you?
Right.
And then said,
I was like, I have to go to the bathroom? I don't remember.
I can't remember what you said either, but I remember.
I was like, you don't want to know.
Yes.
Or something like
you
that.
You don't want to know. And I was like, red flag. Get out while you still can.
But really all it was is that I had literally never had a boyfriend before. Yeah. Never kissed anybody, never been on a date. So literally that day was my first date.
Yeah.
So but how embarrassing is that? And you're like 23 years old. Anyway, so then I excused myself to the bathroom and then panicked.
And what did you do? Did you like text your friend or call your friend? Or
not at all. I was just like, I mean, I knew I was going to tell you.
Right.
We had already been talking. It's not like,
right. Then I think you did tell me. And then I was just like, okay, red flags, go away. I understand.
Yeah, I told you. Like, no, this is my first date.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is also a red flag.
What? No.
Yeah, 18-year-old girl, first date ever. Well, I mean, it's not your average.
I feel like that's like normal now.
I feel like it's not normal now, but that's okay. We'll just
I don't
let the sleeping dogs lie. But now we've been married.
I grew up at a different time.
We've been married for 13 years. Oh, what? 15 years?
We technically, so not a lot of people know this, but we got married twice. We got married once in August 2008.
Yeah. I don't think you want to say that.
Why?
You don't know who's going to listen to this.
Who cares?
Oh, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter.
It literally doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, okay.
We got married. We basically eloped. We had a friend marry us.
I would never do this to Dani's dad. This never
No, my
happened.
dad knew about it. My dad was the only. My dad and our close friends obviously knew about it.
All right, tell the story. How long have we been married then?
So we technically first got married in August 2008. So it's been, almost 15 years. And then but we don't really celebrate that as our anniversary. We had a big, big wedding for all of our family to celebrate.
Yes.
Which really was like our wedding.
It really, truly was.
On April 24th, 2010.
Right. So we have been married for 13 years.
No, we've been married for 15 years almost.
Yeah, but what's the one we celebrate?
Yeah. Okay, fine. But still, I mean,
our next anniversary
we
that we will...
endured an extra year and a half together before that.
I love that word she used there. She endured it.
It's an accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment to be in a relationship with Dani Kyro. So, yeah, we got to get into the questions that people want to know.
Did anyone ask any questions?
I'll get to those in a little bit later.
Okay.
But the questions that people want to know, I just, from reading comments earlier, is like, does he always say this girl is on fire? Like they want to know, like, am I as annoying in real life as I am on the videos?
I've been wanting to say something about this for a long time.
Let it out.
You know what song you actually sing or hum more than This Girl Is on Fire?
Tell me.
I think it's the One of Us song by Joan Osborne. What if God was one of us?
Yeah.
Na, 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 na.
Because that song slaps.
I know, but it's so funny. I notice it every time I watch a video. You sing that one more than This Girl Is on Fire. I just think that people just don't know that song as prominently.
As much as they should, I guess.
Right.
And I guess the lyrics.
Does slap, though.
It does slap. I know, right?
It's such a good song. I don't know if that's who sings it.
Okay, so the question is, am I as annoying in real life as I am on the videos?
No.
Oh, big pause there.
No, I did. You're definitely not. I mean, I obviously like how you are with me is different.
Yeah.
Sometimes you won't be serious when I need you to be serious.
That's true.
But it's not annoying. I mean, there will be times where I'm like trying to have a real conversation with you.
Right.
And
I'll be joking
you're just
around.
Totally in like whatever YouTube mode.
Yeah, what is that
YouTube
like to be married to somebody who is I don't even know how to describe it. YouTube mode is maybe a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
What is it like to be married to a professional skateboarder who, as their job, makes videos on the internet?
I mean, so there's like a lot of different aspects to it. I don't know. I think like it's obviously very cool. I think what you do is super awesome. Mm-hmm. And I think my favorite part about it is when like kids like really look up to you.
Yeah. And
they're like so excited to meet you, or it makes their day when you like acknowledge them or whatever. Yeah. And they spot you on the street or at a restaurant or whatever. Like that part's really cool because it shows how much people do actually look at you and look up to you, but also it shows like the influence that you can have.
Right.
And obviously I know you and you're like extremely ethical, extremely moral, like have a high degree of integrity. So I know this about you. And obviously like, I don't know that it necessarily shows in like fun and funny YouTube videos, but right. I know like how much you care about, mankind. And I know how much you want to like be a positive influence for people.
Yeah, it's a big deal for me.
Yeah, I think if anything, like that's something that I want everyone to know and see because I definitely know that.
Yeah.
So then when I see like kids or other people like so excited to meet you in real life and whatever and just show like the reach that you have, that's cool to me because I feel like you can really do something with that. That's extremely positive. and even like you are already doing that. Like to me, when I grew up, like I was born in 1988. So like skateboarding was huge when I was younger, and like everyone skateboarded, but also from my perspective, it was like a very drug riddled scene. And like a lot of kids that were skating at that time were just kind of like at least around me. I can't like, stereotype every
Sure.
skater in the 90s, but
Right.
but all of the kids around me were like doing drugs and whatever that skated. I never did drugs.
And how did you come across this? Is it in your high school or like?
Yeah, in my high school, just like friends of friends. Most of my friends, like, I grew up in like what I consider a very disciplined and like ethical household. And I never, like, thankfully, I never even had the thought of getting into drugs or like doing anything.
Yeah, your
like
mom
that.
and dad are very hardcore anti-drug.
Totally.
Yeah.
Super anti-drug. And yeah, I mean, I'm like thankful for that. And
Yeah.
I had a really positive upbringing.
Right.
So, but anyway, it's not like I wasn't exposed to it or I didn't have friends that did it or whatever, but I never strayed from what I felt was right or wrong, you know?
Right.
So, but anyway, at that time, it was like I have this one friend in particular that I think of where like we would go, two friends actually, they would go like skate in the parking lots and they would smoke and like they never did drugs around me, but they would smoke cigarettes, which we were probably like 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they would drink and like I knew that they did drugs too, but they never did it around me.
Right.
And that was just kind of like the culture. That's like totally what was cool. And I also just very much remember like pop culture from the 90s and how it was portrayed.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, for you already like now you already bring like such a positive light to skateboarding. Not that it's like, I feel like nowadays, now that I'm older, I view it from a different perspective. It's like I feel like it's a very artistic sport.
Yeah.
It's very artistic. It's very technical. Like you have to have such skill and mastery of what you do. So to me, it's like fascinating. Obviously, I can like ride around. I couldn't do tricks or anything. But when I see people do tricks, it's almost like otherworldly to me. I don't
Right.
know how they can control their feet, the board, their body. And it's like magical, you
Right.
know? But I forget where I was going with this. But basically, oh yeah, so now I think the sport is actually all in all much more positive than it was in the 90s. I do, like from what I can tell.
You mean from an outsider looking in?
Yeah, like now that it's in the Olympics.
You think the Olympics helps with that?
I think so, because I think the Olympics also is very like, I mean, those are like high caliber athletes. Like
Right.
you can't, I mean, you represent like a very high caliber like role model when you are playing a sport in the Olympics.
Right. It is a big deal. Even just to say like I went to the Olympics or my son went to the Olympics. The idea that somebody's son or daughter could be in the Olympics for skateboarding definitely it gives it it's in a different light.
Yeah.
Entirely, which I think is so interesting. This is why I think it's interesting is because to talk to somebody about the skateboard industry who's entirely not
Right.
in the skateboard industry. But also, okay, going back to our relationship, when you first met me, were you like, oh, he's so cool, he's a skater? Or were you like, because I was sponsored at this time, and I must say I was really good at skateboarding, but I have my own viewpoint of what you thought, but I want to hear what you thought about it.
Honestly, I feel like I was so like oblivious to that world.
Yeah.
That it didn't make a difference to me.
Yeah.
Like it had no bearing on me liking you or not liking you.
Right.
But so yeah, like I mean it was cool but it didn't really resonate with me like your whole history. Now I feel like I understand that better now having been with you for 15 years, but like I don't it didn't make any difference at all.
That is the dead truth. I remember being like, man, this girl, I should be able to impress her. Like, I get free shoes, I get free clothes. Some of these big companies send me stuff, and it was like, she could have cared less.
Yeah.
I think I even like sat you down one time and put you on the couch and like showed you my video in the Daly City House. I think I showed you maybe my skateboard video, like, wow, I can do all these tricks so good. And you were like, yeah, neat. You want to have dinner now or no?
Well, that's the thing. And it is kind of like that. I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. But I was not like, I had no concept of this world at all.
Right.
Like, I had no concept of like the skill it took. And honestly, just, I mean, I feel like now in present time, I have like obviously I have like a lot more respect for it and like a lot more appreciation for it. But at the time, it made absolutely no difference to me. I did think it was cool.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think that's great. And I think that's part of the reason why we got along so well and why we've continued to be in a good, like long-term healthy relationship, because I can go skateboarding, have my entire skateboard career head wrapped around skateboarding and all that that's involved in. And then I can go home to you. And then it's just an entirely different, like, set that aside, get it out of there. And now, like, let's go on to the next thing. I think if I was like wrapped up in the skateboard world all the time, man, it would be really tough. And it's good to be with a person that's like, you know, I don't know if I went out with a girl that was like, oh my gosh, you're a professional skateboarder. That's so cool. I don't know that relationship would really last. It might be based on something that wasn't totally real. But what we have is very real. And I think when we first started dating, we would just talk on the phone for like 5 hours. And then we would get off the phone and, you know, you would look at your Nokia, your old school Nokia, and it would say the time that you talked. And I would always be like, dang, that was a long time. Didn't it seem like a long time? But I think that's what a healthy relationship is built on, is the communication.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree. But also now though, like it's funny you say that, because for me, I feel like a little bit like I missed out on a lot of stuff. Like I feel like, oh man, I wish I was like a lot more involved in your skateboarding career.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, there's so many times when I would go on these cool trips and she wouldn't go. And then later I would be like, you just missed the most incredible thing ever.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to try and do that more and get you in there more. But okay, so I'm curious to know, like you were saying, my positive influence on the environment of skateboarding. Is there like a story or a time when you saw that and you went like, for you yourself personally, went like, whoa, this is like a thing? Because you knew me my entire life. When you first met me, yes, I had sponsors, but I was I was the exact opposite of what you would call successful. Made very, very little money. I did everything I could to scrounge up $900 to buy my first car, which was a beat up Honda Civic. And there was often times when I was struggling to make the rent.
Yeah.
I would call my mom and say, Mom, I can't afford dinner. Can you get me a pizza? And she would order me a pizza, you know, stuff like that. So you've seen me through that all the way forward through the progression of like having a pro board and all this. So like, is there a time period where for you really went like, whoa, something's occurring here?
Yeah, I think when we went to the UK, that was like when it really, really like made an impact on me. Like obviously I knew it's funny. There was one time when we were in Costco. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And this is the first time that anyone ever recognized you while you were with me.
In public.
And it was a little kid. I won't ever forget this. It's so funny. It was a little kid. We were standing in line, speaking of pizza, to get pizza at Costco.
Shout out Costco pizza. Just the delicious. Yeah.
We don't eat like that anymore. But anyway.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
We absolutely like Costco pizza.
But it must have been like, God, I want to say like, it was before we were married.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it was before we were married.
We were at Costco.
We were probably together for like a year and a half or 2 years or something. And this little kid, probably 7 years old, is like, and like tugs on his mom's arm. And he's like, that's Aaron Kyro. And I was like, how does this 7-year-old kid know who Aaron Kyro is? But this was also like, I mean, it must have been when you were first starting to do YouTube, which was when? 2007?
2006 in December was my first video was uploaded.
Yeah. Okay. I think that this was around 2007 because we got married in 2008.
Right.
It was sometime in 2007. That was a long time ago. So, I mean, that was literally 16 years ago. That little kid is 23 years old now. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that was probably the first time where I was like, oh, wow, like that's crazy. Someone recognized you. But then
what were you like? Were you like, what's happening? What's going on here?
I was like shocked. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, he's a celebrity. Like he's famous. That's crazy. But yeah, so that was probably like the first moment when something like that had happened. And I was like, really, I don't know. I was like really excited.
Yeah.
Then when we went to the UK, see, like I was saying earlier, I missed out on a lot. Like I probably have only ever gone to see you skate at a skate park once. And I've only gone to see you skate street twice. Probably ever.
You're so unsupportive. I can't believe you.
And that's maybe not true. I mean, like,
no, I don't think that's true.
But it's not like I go to watch you skate. Now I see you skate all the time here or at meet and greets or whatever. Anyway, so I go with you to the UK. I think this was 2017.
Yeah.
Was it 2017?
I don't know. I'm really bad with dates and times. I just know around this time period.
It was either 2016 or 2017.
Sure.
We did like a little meet and greet at like a little skate park somewhere in London.
Yeah.
And then we meet these two kids there and then we have another meet and greet at like the super famous spot. What is it called?
South Bank. Shout out South Bank in London.
So then it's scheduled. So then these two kids take us on the train and I remember walking through this market and like getting food because we were starving.
Yeah.
And we're like eating our food, walking to South Bank.
Yeah.
And like we turn the corner and I'm sure there weren't thousands of kids, but like it seemed like there were thousands of people. It literally seemed like there were thousands of people. And it was just you and I. It's not like you had a filmer or anything.
Right.
I think I was filming.
Yeah, you were. I handed you the camera and
I was like standing it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. Like, I mean, it was a lot of people and they just rushed at you and it was so crazy. Tons and tons of kids. I was getting like hit in the head with skateboards.
Yeah.
It was like a giant mosh
not like
pit.
in like a mean way.
No,
but,
like out of excitement.
Yeah,
like,
because what was happening was I walked around the corner and there were hundreds of kids. I don't think it was 1,000, but when you're in kind of a smallish area and there's hundreds and hundreds of people, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So then I get surrounded 360 degrees by kids. They're all trying to get me to sign their board.
Right.
So I'm literally going like sign a board, sign a board, sign a board, spinning in circles. And
for 3 hours straight.
Yeah, it was a long time, and then we were skating around. There were some other cool, like little, like not cool things that happened during that time period.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
But it was that. But then I also know it was like a kid's birthday that day and you sang him happy birthday and you had like the hundreds of kids sing them happy birthday. And then there was another kid who was trying this really hard trick and like had the whole crowd encouraging him and everyone was so excited.
Yes.
Everyone was like on cloud 9, like so elated. It felt like one giant team.
Because that's what it is. The Braille army is one giant team all over the world. This is probably one of the craziest experiences I've ever had as well at any meet and greet. And that the trick that the kid was trying was a 360 flip down the stairs.
Right.
And he was like, I've been trying this for 3 hours.
Right.
And then I literally went like, you can land it. And then he turns around and he goes and he this literal best case scenario, breaks his board
Oh, yeah.
and rolls away. And he's literally like, "Ah!" And then all this group of kids rush him and pick him up.
Right.
And he's basically crowd surfing like he's
Right.
a rock star. But the thing that's cool.
But would that have happened though? Like if there wasn't such a group of people there that, you know what I mean, that you brought together.
Yeah, well, I
don't
think about
know.
that all the time. He's literally trying this for 3 hours.
Right.
And then I think that just sometimes, like, he clearly already knew how to do the trick. I didn't say, like, move your foot here, change your foot
Right.
position, flip it slower. I literally just said, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's happened so many times where I go to a skate park and somebody's trying a trick. Maybe it's just a kickflip or an ollie or whatever. And they're like, I can't get this. And I'm like, yes, you can. Because I think a lot of times in the world, they just don't have somebody to be there to say, yes, you can.
Yeah. And support them.
Yeah. And you start thinking about some of the people's lives that they go through. And sometimes it can be really rough. My life is and has been really rough at times. And you don't always have somebody there. You know, not everybody has the father figure or whatever that might be in their environment or even their friends that are so supportive.
Mhm.
A lot of times you're hanging out with your friends and you're just goofing around and kind of making fun of each other in a funny way, but it's not necessarily like, you know, not everybody has the friend who's going to be like, hey, bro, I hope you are doing well. That thing that you're working on, I think that you can get it. I want to be a positive impact in your life, and I will be there for you to say, you got this.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's kind of
it definitely helps. It also just helps your mindset, like,
yeah, 100%.
and your confidence. And yeah.
Yeah. So then I start, you know, then I feel like this is my duty to
Right.
do that for
Yeah.
people.
But it's also, it's like, yeah, obviously skateboarding is like, it's a sport and it's fun. And there's all of these more like superficial aspects of it. But it's also like when kids like have a sport, this is my opinion, have a sport that they can do and something that they like can put their mind to and improve and like constantly work on. And it like teaches them discipline and structure and, you know, like it gives them something to constantly try to improve themselves on, right?
Yeah. And it's really tough, both mentally and physically.
Right. A big thing is that, like, I was talking about when I was growing up in the field of skateboarding was like it wasn't as inclusive as it is now.
Yeah.
Like when I was growing up, it was the way it was portrayed and like in pop culture was definitely very much about drugs and like, it was very negative feeling.
Really?
Or there was like some sort of bad connotation to it. Like,
yeah.
Like cool, but also bad. Like you're bad and cool and you skateboard, you know?
Right. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Not like, yeah. So, but
like, I'm a bad boy. I ride a skateboard. I do
Totally.
whatever I want. I don't need
Totally.
to adhere to society's rules. I
Right.
ride a skateboard.
right.
Which is cool, which is also another kind of cool aspect of it. I mean, it definitely has sort of a rebellious aspect.
Right. But I think the fact that you don't promote like using drugs, for example, and the fact that it's all about the discipline and learning and pushing yourself and teaching others and like expanding the field and being inclusive of other people, and the fact that you also just respect like every single person that skateboards and like you treat every single person the same and you grant them that, you know, that respect
Yeah.
and you acknowledge them. That's like a huge way of making an impact. Do you
Yeah,
know what I
well,
mean?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because when I grew up in Montana, I grew up in a very small town. My brother's 3 years older than me. Shout out Dani Kyro, you're the absolute best. When I was 12 years old, my brother was 15, and my brother started getting into drugs. And so I started getting into drugs when I was 12. It was basically like what your brother does, you do. It's just like this thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I literally started smoking weed at the age of 12. And then I had this very intense defining moment where my brother and all his friends skated, and then I skated, and I had like my crew of friends as well. But there was this time where my brother told my parents that he was staying at a friend's house, and then his friends told his parents that he was staying at our house, and I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And we both went to a party. And we were both at that party, and we both got both drunk and high at the party. I remember smoking weed at the party, and then the next day, I forget how my brother got caught, but he fully got caught in
Right.
huge trouble. My mom found his bong in his backpack and broke it in half on her knee. And then my dad was like, you are, was like just ripping into my brother. And then after that, because then my dad realized, oh, Aaron, our younger son, also was out that night. And then my dad took me aside and he said, looked me right in the eyes. My dad's a terrifying man to this day. He is. And he looked me right in the eyes and he said, were you at that party too? And I looked him right back in the eyes and I said, no, Dad, I wasn't.
Oh my God.
And then he said, okay. And I felt it was a huge shift in my life. And I felt so bad on so many different levels.
Yeah.
I had lied to my dad. I felt terrible about that. My brother was in trouble and I was there too. And so I should have been in trouble too. I literally should have been in trouble.
Yeah.
But from that day forward, I literally went like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I need to lie to my parents to feel like I'm making it by. And my brother's friends were like, you little rat, you should get in trouble too. Your brother is in trouble and so should you be. And it just went on. And like the aftermath of this was pretty rough on me.
Yeah.
Mentally, I was like, man, I am and I started feeling like a bad person. And I just went down that rabbit hole. And then I just went, I never want to do that again. And it wasn't that I just quit cold turkey, never drank again, because so then like throughout my life, there would be like a handful of times where I would drink, not more than a handful. I drank more than a handful of times, but smoking weed, probably like 5 times in my whole life. The thing about weed is that I never was just into it.
Yeah.
Even when I smoked weed and got high, I was like, I could just not sleep for a day. And then the next day I feel stoned.
Yeah.
It's not that and it's also not that I like look down on people that do that either. I just think your life, the funny thing about that incident is if my dad would have found out a different way, or if my dad would have said, were you at that party too? And I said, yes, Dad, who knows where my life would be now?
Right.
I could be literally living on the streets as a total drug addict and trying to make ends meet to just get my next hit to get high. And I'm not saying that anybody who ever does marijuana or even smokes marijuana now ends up in that situation.
Yeah.
But some people do.
Yeah.
That's a very real reality, especially living here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So
I know it's so funny. I'm thinking about people listening to this and like thinking like, anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's such a commonly accepted thing.
Yeah. Ricky and I talked about this as well.
Yeah.
It's almost so common that it's just like, oh, just hang out, just smoke a blunt and get drunk, know? Whereas if somebody's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's almost like you are the black sheep. In fact, in high school, when I was like, oh, I want to, I told you I didn't even date a girl in high school.
Right.
There were some girls that I was close to dating. Shout out Carrie Doppler if you're listening to this. I was close to dating her, but it was almost like, and this is just totally for me and inside my own feelings, I felt like I can't date this girl because I'm not cool enough, because I don't party.
Right.
And, whatever. It wasn't that I was just like cold turkey, like I'm not doing anything. But now I'm like, I just don't do anything. Ricky and I talked about this as well. It's just like, I don't know you just get to a certain point where you're like, I don't need that influence in order to enjoy. I don't need it to have fun.
Right.
And growing up, I also had the positive impact of some of my friends, 2 of my best friends growing up, Jake and Jason Butt, who were Mormons, who didn't drink at all. And they pushed in on me all the time. Why do you need to do that to have fun?
Right.
And it wasn't okay. They also had many friends who would even literally go to their house and get drunk,
Yeah.
So it wasn't that they were like, oh, you're a bad person if you do that. So I
Right.
also had that viewpoint as well.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very healthy. And then I would think to myself, dang, these guys rock.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I would have more fun with Jake and Jason sober
Yeah.
than I would any of the other times.
Right. Yeah. I know, that's funny.
Yeah, it is funny, isn't it? It's just kind of a funny, interesting thing. But yeah, it's also funny because now doing the YouTube videos and being on Instagram and social media all the time, in my comments section,
I know.
sometimes it's just Aaron is stoned. His eyes
I know.
are red. His eyes are red. So it's, that's
his eyes are just red.
I don't,
It's not,
I literally
he
don't know how to
doesn't smoke
explain
weed.
it. I know, but we could say that and we could explain that. They will not.
It doesn't matter.
They won't believe
I mean,
you.
we don't care. It's fine.
Yeah,
they
it really
can think
doesn't
what
matter.
they want to think.
But I think it's. I think
it's
good to have these conversations
Yeah.
because people get to know.
But I think it's important that we talk about it because I don't want kids, especially when you have such an audience, like I don't want kids to look up to you and then think it's cool.
If some kid looked up to me and he went, I think Aaron smokes weed, so I'm going to smoke weed.
Exactly. That
break
would
my
make
heart.
us feel terrible.
Yeah.
But that being said, again, it doesn't mean that we
don't accept somebody
Exactly.
or love
It doesn't
them
mean
just
that,
as much as we
exactly.
would. Everybody just has a different.
Exactly. That's the thing. I want to make sure that that's also very clear.
Absolutely.
We obviously, we don't condemn a person just because they do something that we don't think is right or that they do something that we wouldn't do.
Right.
But at the same time, I do think this is why I feel like you are a positive influence in doing something like this podcast where you have a chance to not just skate, but talk about skateboarding and talk about things related to skateboarding. I think it's really good because I think people should know that you don't do drugs and you literally don't drink. The last time he had a drink was on my 25th birthday. That was almost 10 years ago. Literally hasn't had a drop of alcohol since then.
Yeah.
And that's not because of any other reason than you just don't care for it or need it or want it.
Yeah. I know it's funny. It's a funny thing.
Yeah. But anyway, I do think it's important to talk about it. I think that people should know that you don't do drugs.
Right.
And I also think that, like you said, I think that skateboarding is such an incredible sport.
Yeah.
It's skateboarding and drugs don't go hand in hand.
Well, that's the thing that I was going to say is I just like to deal in the pure facts.
Yeah.
The pure fact is that skateboarding is a toy. It is a piece of wood with some grip tape on top and some wheels. And then people do all these tricks. And a lot of the things around this toy, which is a literal toy, there are so many let's attach this idea. Let's attach this. These tricks are cool. You're not allowed to do this. You can't grab your board and hold it this way or you're not cool.
Yeah.
And then let's just throw in if you do drugs, you're cool. And sometimes you get into if you're on a sponsored team and you're in the team and then everyone in the van is doing drugs and you're not, you're going to be a little bit ostracized, right?
Right.
So,
But I do feel like with the Olympics, I feel like it has improved because you can't do drugs and be an Olympian.
That is a good question. I think that is true. And I think they do drug tests.
They absolutely drug test you.
Yeah.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that no Olympians have ever done drugs.
Right.
That's not what I'm trying to say.
Well.
But you can't be entered into that level of competition and be doing drugs. You just can't. And to have skateboarding then be in the Olympics, I feel like is another majorly positive influence on that sport because the sport is a sport. The sport has nothing to do with drugs. The sport takes absolute incredible skill, precision, discipline, strength, balance, you name it. And those are all incredibly amazing qualities of an athlete, has nothing to do with drugs.
That's right. And that's why I say just look at the pure truths of the matter. So, okay, well, I'm going to throw out this counter idea to what you just said of what an idea
people have been saying.
Well, people have been saying, even I myself may or may not agree with your viewpoint. Is skateboarding a sport? And if so, why? What's going on, everybody? I want to take a second to tell you about Audible, the #1 platform for audiobooks, podcasts, and more. With Audible, you have access to over 400,000 titles, including one of my favorites, Shoe Dog, the story of the Nike owner, Phil Knight. As a small business owner and skater, it was so interesting to see what he went through in building the Nike empire and how it all started. This is an inspiring and motivating story, and I would recommend it to anyone. The way Audible works is amazing. With Audible Plus, you get instant access to thousands of audiobooks, sleep guides, and podcasts for just $7.95. Yours to enjoy as a subscriber, or you can upgrade to Audible Premium Plus and get everything included in Audible Plus, plus one additional audiobook every month, yours to stream, download, and keep forever, even if you cancel your subscription, which is easy to do, but trust me, you won't want to. There are many amazing books on Audible, and as a listening viewer of the Braille Drop, you can download a free audiobook today that's yours forever, whether you subscribe or not. Just go to thebrailleDrop.com/audible to sign up for a free 30-day trial and receive one free audiobook that's yours to keep. Doing so really helps support the show. That's thebrailleDrop.com/audible to get a completely free audiobook on Audible. Thanks, and now back to the show.
Well, okay. Technically, it's not a sport per the definition in the dictionary.
Really?
Well, let's look at it.
Let's look at it. Pull it
So
up.
I remember having this argument before.
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, but the point is, the actual thing is it literally doesn't matter and who cares? That's the real point. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
You know?
well, the interesting thing, though, is if you say, for example, it's good for the sport of skateboarding that was in the Olympics, a counter argument that you'll get almost immediately is you don't know what you're talking about, and skateboarding is not a sport.
Yeah.
That's where it'll go.
Fine. I mean, I'm sure I could look in 1,200 dictionaries and find a definition that would fit
What
that
does it
doesn't
say?
have a team competing against another team.
Oh, what does it say?
It says an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment.
Ooh.
So, but here's the thing, like
Individual or team. So it covers the
an individual competes against another or others.
Yeah.
Right. So fine, you can have a game of skate and that's a sport.
Well, and in the Olympics, you're competing against others.
Well, exactly. Okay,
Right.
fine. So yes, it is a sport because you're
Yeah.
competing against other people.
Per that definition, we
But
can...
if you're just riding around on a skateboard and doing tricks and stuff, I
Yes.
mean, technically per that definition, it's not, but like it literally doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you're competing against yourself. I don't know.
You absolutely are competing against yourself. The way that I like to look at skateboarding is that it's more of an art form.
Yeah.
And
It is an art.
you are competing against yourself both physically and mentally. You're always going to be much harder on yourself than anybody else.
Mhm.
And when you have to push yourself to land the trick that was mentally fearful, hard
Yeah.
for you, it's a huge deal. And then when you get really good at that trick, you can do it with a certain style, which makes it sort of an artistic thing. And the tricks that you do, the trick choice, the selection, the spots that you choose, all of this makes it it's rather artistic.
Totally. It is. It's an art. It's a craft.
Right.
It's a skill.
So skateboarders that love that aspect of it like to go, well, then skateboarding in the Olympics ruins it because you basically like break it down to the kickflip is worth 100 points.
Well,
Double flip
Totally.
is 200.
It is hard because it's very subjective. It's not
Exactly.
like you can shoot a bunch of baskets and get points in a basketball game because
Right.
there's a precise line that the person shoots from that
Right.
determines whether it's 3 points or whatever.
2 points or 3 points.
Yeah.
Sarah.
This is like so random, but I was looking at the derivation of the word
Yeah.
just to see if it shed any light on like this whole competitive or competition aspect.
What does it say? Sponsored
It has
skateboarder
nothing. What?
Sponsored skateboarder from the San Francisco Bay Area.
No.
What does it say?
It says it's just random, but it's kind of cool. It says it's French from Latin. And it says from the idea of leading the attention away from serious things.
Ooh, I love that. You know, that's a big thing that we've been talking about on the podcast.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's cool.
yeah,
It's exactly what we're talking about.
it's exactly what we're talking about. You know, Purple uses skateboarding as his personal meditation when he's going through something really tough.
Yeah.
It leads his attention away from serious things. And then Rick G on his podcast talked about how he lost his partner, hugest loss in his entire life. And he was literally to the point where he was like, there is no reason to go on living.
Yeah.
And then he went skateboarding and he slammed really hard. And then he realized, it's funny that made him realize, he goes, I realized that you can have a really big loss.
Wow.
And then you get back up again.
Yeah.
And just from the simple aspect of you're riding a toy and
Yeah.
you fell down, it was this huge change in his life.
Yeah.
And then we taught him how to kickflip, and landing that kickflip was like, he said it literally changed his life.
Right. I remember that.
So then I get so excited because I go like, man, we can there's so many positive effects that skateboarding can have on the world. And if we just get more people skateboarding.
Yeah.
And then I go, this is my responsibility to do that. And we can use these platforms we have built.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I know. It's pretty cool.
It's funny that I can talk to you, a completely non-skateboarder, and we can have the same conversation that I've been having with all the hardcore skateboarders.
Yeah, I know.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let me go to some questions.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up my Instagram where I put this thing, ask my wife questions for the podcast. I'm just going to ask you some of these questions, and they're going to be kind of funny. So you could just answer as you will.
Okay.
All right, we're going to cut it there, but there's still a lot left to this conversation. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast because part 2 will be coming out next week and you don't want to miss it.